turning to another state 6 days after Election Day, and Arizona is still counting votes. This is a pretty normal process for them, but typically the state is reliably Republican. With the Senate race between Martha McSally and Kyrsten Sinema razor tight, uncertainty remains. Here to break down the votes and counting process is Talking Points analyst Anthony Dabbundo.
On election night, Republican Martha McSally held a 1-point lead over Democrat Kyrsten Sinema. Most states with little early voting or mail-in ballots can be called on election night, but not Arizona. This state receives hundreds of thousands of votes by mail and absentee, which can take weeks to count. Now, typically it doesn't matter. Republicans have won this state for decades, but the suburban rejection of Trump and the growing Hispanic population has turned the state a bit purple. Now, McSally and Sinema are both former congresswomen, and the race was hotly contested. On election night, many pundits claimed that McSally was on her way to a win. Since the ballots have been dumped piecemeal each day by the counties, everything has changed. Sinema now leads by about 38,000 votes, good enough for a 1.7% lead. Now, the majority of the ballots still out come from Maricopa County. It's Phoenix and the surrounding suburbs. Now, Jeff Flake won this district in 2012, but now Sinema has about a 3-point lead. It tends to be a pretty accurate bellwether for the entire state, and it's easily the most populous county. Again, like I said, Flake won the county. This is the map from 2012 when he won re-election. He's retiring. 2018, Sinema holds a lead. So day after day, the county has reported a chunk of its votes, and Sinema's lead has expanded each time that Maricopa has put in its votes. She's only winning the county by about 3 points, but the mail-in votes and the absentees skew Democratic. She's won each of these extra votes by about 15%. Now, the McSally camp isn't giving up. They don't think the race is over. She's continued to say that the remaining votes from Maricopa are enough for the suburban and the rural counties. But if we take a look at the map here, the remaining votes that were dropped off on election day, these voters are much more Republican. And she's pointed to reliably Republican neighboring counties. Now, last time Pinal County did post, McSally barely made a dent in Sinema's lead. The reality for McSally is this: Sinema holds a lead in both counties that have the most votes out, Maricopa and Pima. Now, Pima is Tucson. It's very Democratic. And after crunching the numbers, it looks difficult to find a path where McSally makes up the deficit. And I've just received word that the AP has called the race for Kyrsten Sinema. So McSally is likely to become an Arizona senator anyway, because John Keel is retiring. He was the one that was appointed to the seat by the governor, Doug Ducey, when John McCain passed away. Keel says he's retiring after this year. So McSally has lost the race for Senate, but she's going to be appointed to be the Senate. So at the end of the day, they're both going to be Arizona senators, and she'll have to run again in 2020. So they're both likely heading to Washington to serve their constituents in Arizona. And so at the end of the day, they're both senators, but Sinema is a key Democratic pickup in Arizona.
All right, so Anthony, we've seen a lot of controversies. We were just talking about Florida. How have Arizona officials responded now that this is all over? How did they deal with this?
So we saw in Florida that there's been a lot of controversy. Michael was just talking about that. There's been a ton of lawsuits. Brenda Snipes has received a lot of criticism. In Arizona, there hasn't been any of that because this is a normal process for them. Much like California, like Oregon, Arizona has a lot of mail-in votes. And typically, the Republicans, they win the seats easily. Trump won the state by 5 points. McCain was a senator for years. Flake was a senator for years. It hasn't been competitive. And now, for the first time, Arizona is going to have a Democratic senator. So they're not used to these competitive races at the statewide level, but like I said earlier, the purpling of Arizona has made closer elections. Now, there have been some people, from outside areas saying, oh, what's going on? Why are there so many Democratic votes coming in late? But the reality is, this is nothing new. Governor Doug Ducey said on Twitter the other day that they're going to count every single vote. And he's not surprised at all by the Sinema taking the lead because he knows how many votes come in late. There were over 500,000 votes not counted on election night that were counted late. And if we take a look at other officials, there haven't been any lawsuits. The Secretary of State, Michelle Regan, she has a Twitter account that one of her data analysts runs. And each day, the county posts its daily update and how many ballots are left. So unlike Florida and Broward County, where we had no idea how many ballots were out, in Arizona, we knew how many ballots were out, we knew where they were coming from, and every time they got posted, we got a new update on the state website. So they've done an excellent job of making sure nothing is shady with the business here.
All right.